Ladies and gentlemen, could you please put your hands together for Mr. Scott Ragsdale?
Thank you.
Scott,
Thank you.
that's quite an incredible video, but let's start by telling us a little bit about what you do normally during the day when you're not doing all these incredible things.
First of all, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm the chairman of a company called Nasaba. We're a business information company. We produce, host, and promote upper-level executive events, trainings, deal facilitation platforms, and we also do capital raising meetings.
Just let's highlight a few of those things that we've just seen there. You've completed a swim across the English Channel. You've completed 7 Ironman Triathlons in 7 days. You've run across the Sahara Desert. You've twice cycled your bike some distance across America. You've run multiple marathons. Why do you do all this?
I got really into this type of endurance activities, I guess, during the crisis. Because before the crisis, we had taken the company public. We made some money. My life, I guess I became a little, without even knowing, I became a little bit soft. I got out of shape. I focused a lot on making money. And then when the crisis came, and I lost a lot of money, and I'd taken the company public, so we were listed. And I got to see my share price go from 14 to 11 to 8, all the way down to 80 cents. And it was a killer for my ego. And I woke up one day. I was at our home in the south of France, and I realized I've been talking about doing an Ironman. I've been talking about getting in shape. I've been talking about what I was going to do. I've been talking about that for years and years and years, and I didn't make it happen. So I woke up the next morning, and I decided to go out and buy a bike. I bought a bike and got into it, and then it became a way for me to try and not just focus on the superficial side of life, but focus on really the making things happen, challenging myself, getting focused.
But in the video at the end there, you said that you weren't particularly great at any of those things. How come you chose to go into endurance and ultra endurance and a lot of cycling, running, and swimming?
It came down to, first of all, Ironman. At the time, this is when Ironman, back in, 2000? The Ironman had a different, it was 2010. Ironman, it was still very iconic. It's iconic now, but it was even back then. And I just wanted to do an Ironman because I talked about doing it since 2000. And then I am an average cyclist. I am, as Marcus pointed out at a lunch the other day, I'm terrible at running. But I'm a swimmer. I come from a competitive swimming background, so I can swim. But I just wanted to see if I can do it. So the English Channel is a good story because I woke up one morning I was training for Ironman Nice, and I woke up and I had read in the newspaper about a man who just failed to swim the English Channel, and it said English Channel has a 33% success rate. And I wondered, I wonder if I can swim the English Channel. And this is in the middle of April. So I called up my coach, who was in Austria, and I asked him, and he said, yeah, I think we can get you in shape. And the best time to do it is the end of August, in the beginning of September. So I trained for 3 months, and I focused, and we were able to make that happen. And that's something where I didn't even think about failing. I didn't even think about I couldn't do it. I'm going to make this happen. And I got into it, and it was my way of, I guess, overcoming the business failures that I had and the crisis, getting myself back into making my life happen.
Talk to us a little bit about the process that you go through. It's all very well to wake up one morning and say, okay, things are not that great, I'm going to swim across the English Channel, or I'm going to complete an Ironman. But then you go through a process, as you said there's 3 months preparation for the English Channel. and I know you spend countless hours training. Talk to us a little bit about the process that you go through and how that fits into what you're doing, and also how you deal with it mentally.
I guess I reflect constantly, and the training that you have to do for these type of things, you're swimming. You had to have 9-hour swims in the Mediterranean Sea, and swimming for 9 hours, you think a lot. So I like to think. I like to reflect. I look at any of the things that are happening in my life, and but going into other type of challenges, the process of just focusing on the task, focusing on the goal, and that's one of the things. Having a goal and going after that goal. And that was one of the things I sent Marcus an email, and I said, one of the things that ideally we get from this discussion, this talk, is challenging everyone to have a goal and think about what is your goal, and are you going after your goal? Or are you just sitting around thinking about, hey, I have that goal, I want to do it one day? Are you putting everything in process to go after that goal today? So I wake up very, very early, as Marcus knows, and Neil knows. And I like to train a lot. I like to, and the people that I train with, I'm very weak at CrossFit. I was embarrassed when he asked me, "You want to speak?" And I said, "No, these guys kick my ass in CrossFit." I do. I think I started squatting for the first time with Neil a year and a half ago. So I can't do squats. I'm not very good at that. And but getting into it now, just the focus on the goal and not stopping until you achieve your goal.
You've obviously done a lot of great things or a lot of serious challenges. What are some of the memorable moments in a positive way, and what are some of the moments in a negative way?
Now, I don't know, hopefully a majority of you know Jebel Hafit, okay? I did Jebel Hafit for the first time when I was training for RAM, and I really struggled. And I had a coach that was riding with me, and I struggled to make it up 3 times. And he said, before you do RAM again, I'm going to have you in shape to do this 10 times. And you're going to do 2 days in a row, 10 times each. And I thought to myself, oh, that's not going to be possible.
Do you just want to tell everyone what Jebel Hafit is?
Jebel Hafit's what, 1,000 meters climb? A mountain? Is it? It is average 7-8%, and it's a big challenge. And I got really into it though. I would dread the workout, but I would really look forward to it. And I did it 10 times in a row, and then the next day I spent the night in the hotel up there, and I was supposed to do it 10 times in a row the next day, and I got to 7, and I just mentally I was bored. So but that was a good memory. Swimming English Channel was a really good story, and I share this because it shows what we can do when we want to make something happen. When I swim the English Channel, I trained for 3 months. Now I'm a swimmer. I'd done 3 Ironman that year, so I felt I was in good shape, and I really focused on this. So I go to Dover 2 weeks before I'm supposed to swim, where you do the English Channel swim, and I go out and I'm a naive American. And I walk down to the beach, and there's 4 guys sitting on the beach. And I say, "Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Scott Ragsdale, Omaha, Nebraska." I just very friendly, and they look at me very unfriendly, and I said, "Yeah, I'm going to swim the channel. I swim on the 2nd." And they say, "Oh, we swim the 1st." And the other guys swim 3rd. They asked, "How long did you train for this?" And stupidly, I said, "About 3 months." And they were like offended, 3 months? There's no way you're going to succeed. There's no way you're going to achieve this. We trained over a year. He trained for 2 years. And then they said, "You're too skinny." And so I said, "Okay, well, thank you very much." And they said, "So, hey, what are you going to do now?" I said, "Well, I have a 6-hour swim, a 6-hour easy swim." So they were very unfriendly. So I got undressed and I said, "Okay, guys, see you later. I got to go swim for 6 hours." Then I jumped in Dover in the harbor. And I started swimming. It was so cold, I couldn't stand it, right? I I was thinking, how am I going to last 3 minutes? So I swam maybe 50 meters, and I couldn't take it. It was so cold. And then I got out, and I walked up to the beach. They're looking at me. I've been in the water maybe 5 minutes. And I say to them, I forgot I have to make a phone call. So anyway, I was really nervous because this has gotten a lot of press. There's everyone, people are talking about it. My company is talking about it. It has a big following. Thinking, how am I going to pull this off? I couldn't even stay 5 minutes in the water. It's so cold. So anyway, I was able to mentally get focused 2 or 3 weeks later when I did it, and I made it happen. And those 4 guys, all of them were complete, excuse my language, Sophie, total assholes. All 4 of them failed. Isn't that funny? They trained 2 years. They told me I was too. They thought too much. They thought too much. All 4 of those guys failed. And they know I made it.
What do you think that's the difference? Do you think a lot of people overcomplicate things?
For sure. I think there's one theme as well that we can take from today is don't think too much. And don't think something is just impossible because someone else tells you, oh, it's super hard, it's impossible. I think there's this big theme in the world today where everyone's trying to sell how great they are. And by doing that, we're trying to make these achievements, oh, they're so exceptional. I'm just an average guy. I'm normal, just like all of you. I wanted to do this, so I focused on making it happen. Don't think too much. If you want to climb a mountain, go climb it. Don't think to yourself, oh, it's too hard, I can't do it, I have to train for this and that. Marcus will get you in shape, that's for sure.
All these things, obviously, massive time commitments. You say you get up early, at the same time you're running a company which has got multiple offices around the world. Talk to us about some of the effects, both positive and negative, that doing these challenges and getting out there and, as you say, making things happen have on both your professional and also your private life.
There's one of the big reasons I do these challenges now is for myself, I guess, of course, but also to try and inspire my kids. A couple years ago, my stepdaughter, she had a loser boyfriend, and she wasn't as focused, and so I was trying to inspire her by what I was doing with my Race Across America. I wake up at 2:15 every single morning for a year and a half training for that race, and I would have to go to bed early. So ideally, that my challenges are having some form of positive impact on the people around me. And at the company, we have, that's one thing, I have 270, 280 employees. We have 4 offices around the world. And I started something that I'm very proud of, is something called the Rolex Challenge, and it's now the Tag Heuer Challenge, where every employee is challenged to do something outside of the job that's exceptional in their life. So it has nothing, it's not allowed to be related to their job. So they have to do something outside of their job that's exceptional, going after a goal, trying to achieve what they've wanted to achieve, whether it's learning a language, whether it's losing weight, whether it's getting a pilot's license. Ideally, that is having some form of positive impact on our employees. We had a girl in our Indian office, the first winner of what we call the Rolex Explorer Challenge. She lost 40 kilo. She ran a 50-mile race. She ended up quitting on us. But it's just the way it works, I guess, the way the world works. Another guy, he got his pilot's license. He flew from Kuala Lumpur. So ideally, these challenges are having some form of impact. We have employees. We have an employee, Elton. Is he here? We have an employee that's lost, how many kilos? 50 kilos? 48 kilos. And it's I don't know.
For all of the successes, there's also, and I think for a lot of people as well, and this is why they don't get started, there's a lot of failure. And an event that you've actually tried twice is what you've been speaking about before, and you've mentioned the Race Across America, which is a bike race across the whole of America. Talk to us a little bit, tell us what that race is, and then let's speak about the attempts that you've had at it.
Now, the Race Across America is a non-stop bike race from Oceanside to Annapolis, and you have to finish it under 12 days. So I attempted this in 2013, and I'm not a cyclist. The only reason I attempted this is because my coach, I want to row across the Atlantic, which we discussed. I want to row across the Atlantic, and my coach said my core is not strong enough, and I have to get my legs stronger. So he gave me a cycle race. So he challenged me to do this race. So I trained for 6 or 7 months, and you ride non-stop, of course. So there's the sleep deprivation, and you got lots of climbing. And so the first time I attempted it, I got through the climbing. I did some great training here. 1 week I had a 127-hour training week, which is almost 18 and a half hours on the bike every day, and it was great. And again, I'm a very average cyclist, so it was just the whole excitement and enjoyment of doing that. And then during the race, I just got hammered by all the climbing. The first time I did it, and I got just about halfway, and Sophie and I were talking about this in the car. I got halfway. I was ahead of the time limit, but I had horrible saddle sores, just indescribable, horrible. But saddle sores don't kill you, so it's something where I mentally I could sit on the seat. The saddle sores aren't going to kill me, and I plugged away, and then one morning I woke up. I was so sleep deprived because after about you sleep 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day. You're supposed to sleep less. The second time I did, I slept less. I woke up and I was on the bike, and I had a crew with me, and my crew was everyone was tired, and I stopped and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. And they said, okay, and that's it. We put the bike in the car, and what I learned, I called Sophie, actually. Sophie's pointing at it. I called Sophie, and I just started crying and bawling, and she says, you're going to regret. And I said, I'm not going to regret. I'm never going to do this again. I'm not going to regret. And I was so sleep deprived, I started crying. And I quit. It's the first time I ever quit in the middle of something. And I had there's that moment of about an hour where I was really talking to myself, thinking, I'm not going to regret. And there's this, you're going to regret. I'm not going to regret. As I'm going, I had the wind at my back. It was flat. It was perfect riding conditions. But I was so sleep deprived. I had such bad saddle sores. And I just had enough. And I said, I'm not going to regret. And of course, oh God, I regret so much. So much.
When did that regret start?
Probably, I would say, really, really sunk in after I'd gotten rested 3 days later, and I wasn't tired anymore. I woke up, what did I do? Oh my God, all that training. And I'd conquered the hardest part. I was on flat. It was the wind was at my back. I'd gotten through the one with all the mountains and all the climbing. And the whole concept of the DNF, I
you
quit.
failed.
I failed.
Yeah.
I failed myself. I failed mentally, where I was prepared. I wasn't going to die. I could have fought on, but I failed.
How do you deal with that, and how did you respond?
Well, I came back. It's funny. I contacted Ed Hawkins, and I said, can you recommend a new coach for me? Because my coach and I decided to take a little break, and I asked Ed, can you recommend a new coach? And he recommended Marcus. So I emailed you, and I had to work on my core and get my legs, my squats sorted. And then I got a new coach for I was going to do it again. So I got back in. I trained harder than ever before on the bike. I did lots and lots and lots of climbing. I did that. Grand Canaries was included in this film because that was a good 2 weeks of every single day, at least 8 hours. I got really good in shape. And then in April, the race is in June. In April, Sophie's mom was dying of cancer, so I decided to postpone it. So I've trained for, 7-8 months for this. I postponed it, then I have to train again. So I took a month off, and I got back into training. I trained again, and I got the best shape of my life. I was ready for it. And then my coach and I got all excited about being top 4 at RAM, and I did it. I got way ahead of my schedule, my target, and I was in 7th place. I had Schirmer's neck. That's why I was wearing that brace. I couldn't hold my head up anymore, so they made this brace to hold it up. And then going down a mountain, I woke up and I'm in the ambulance because I crashed. So 18 months of training, and I crash. All of that commitment, that time, the money invested, and I crashed. So it's another good learning experience.
How did you deal with that?
That's one of those
things. This is the second time.
Yeah, it's the second time, and I don't want to come across negative, but I don't enjoy cycling because here it's I have to get in my truck, I have to drive to the track, I have to take it. It's just a huge time commitment, and it's the same thing over and over. So it was a big disappointment. Thinking, am I going to do it again? You know, so I think I'm going to take a little break now and try and do other challenges. Yeah. But that was, I trained a year and a half, and I crashed. I didn't quit. At least I didn't quit this time. I crashed.
That's a bonus.
So,
on the flip side, you've obviously had a lot of success. The 7 Ironmans in 7 days through the 7 Emirates. Talk to us a little bit about success and what it means to you, and how you measure it.
For me, this is a very good question, because before I used to measure success on money. I'm successful because I had made a certain amount of money, or I have a house, or I have this. Now, for me, I measure success on the adventures, the experience, the focus, living honorably, making my goals happen, setting goals and going after them. Training. Setting a challenge and then training very hard for that and going after that and achieving it, then I find success in that. That's how I consider success or not success.
What does it feel like though, mate? You've got, like, a lot of people in this room have done physical challenges in triathlon. We've got some Ironman finishers, a number of them. On that 7 Ironman in 7 days, you're on day 4, you're on day 5. Like, how's the success thing coming when your body is completely, destroyed?
That challenge is a good one. I'd never DNF'd anything before. Okay, so I never, like the Ram, I DNF'd. I quit. And with the 7 Ironman, I never even came close to not finishing or even quitting, I never even thought about it. I just pushed through the pain. I got into a zone and I just focused on making it happen. And I prepared a lot for it. I was well prepared. I did practice runs I did 7 Ironman before in practice. So I had already done the challenge with my coach. So it's something where mentally I didn't think about it. Where now, because I talked about doing the Deca Ironman, which is 10 Ironman in 10 days. Now I wonder, during the hard part, would I fall back and start thinking about quitting because I've quit? When you quit, there's that feeling of, it's over. I don't mind. I don't quit anymore because that pain's gone. It's that feeling of you're plugging away and then you stop. That pain's not there anymore. But there's a huge, huge pain. It's a psychological pain. And it's something where it's in training. I sometimes I'll be training. I'll think I don't want to do this anymore, and I never ever had that before. So
when you get that feeling though, and I think it's probably something not only in your training, but it could be in all different areas of life. How do you reflect back to those situations where you haven't been able to finish something, and how do you deal with that to make you finish the job at hand?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I focus on thinking I don't want to feel that same regret, that same. It's the lack of achievement, that feeling of that lack of achievement, where we focus, we go after something. It's like a diet. You start a diet, you get all excited, you lose weight, you get down to I'm just 1.5 kilos from my goal weight. Perfect, that's close enough. It's not going to the end of it. And it's learning a language. I can speak French, but I cannot speak French as perfectly as I should. And it's even that when I start studying, I get excited and I get focused, and then I go off it. So it's everything. It's not just the endurance challenges. It's that everything in our life going to the end of something, not just getting excited and then seeing the quick success and stopping, but trying to stay focused. And that's what I try and reflect on constantly.
You write a blog, scottragsdale.com, and recently you put up an article that I saw got a lot of interesting comments. It was titled, "There are too many pussies in the world teaching us to grow up and learn how to be pussies." Can you speak a little bit about that for us? Sorry if anyone's offended by this.
Yeah, there's
some people were. But
no, I think there's. First of all, it isn't. When I referred to it, I said there's too many pussies teaching us how to grow up to be total pussies, and a pussy is not referred to a derogatory towards a woman. I had a couple women go on there, and Sophie pointed that out as well. I use it as a word to describe someone that's weak, okay? And I just use that because that word got the response I was expecting. And it was about, I had dinner with a friend of mine who's also an endurance athlete, and he was telling me about this guy who did a half Ironman recently, and he didn't even make the swim cutoff. And on his social media, everyone went on saying, "Oh, that's great, that's amazing, at least you tried." And the whole point of this idea of at least you tried, and people patting us on the back, "Hey, good job, Scott. You did a great job. You made it halfway across America. At least you tried." But I didn't finish. I didn't train to get halfway across America. I trained to finish. And this world we live in today, there's a lot of people out there that are, "Hey, that's okay, I tried," or "It's okay, I didn't get to the end, but I tried my best." And that whole the blog was about, it's not about you trying. The guy didn't put himself in a position where he was in shape enough to go to the end. He was too lazy. And this "at least I tried, it doesn't matter if I fail, at least I try," gives us lots of excuses not to fully prepare ourselves, because there's no more fear of failure. It's okay, I failed. It doesn't matter that I wasted $85,000 on RAM. I tried. So that doesn't go over well with Sophie.
I can understand why not. Mate, what makes you the happiest in life?
What makes me happy, I guess, is achieving as a businessman, having a great office, a great company with great people. Having no jimpies, okay? Having my friends and family around that are successful. I try and make sure I don't have any negativity in my life, and that's another topic that's worth discussing. So many people are brought down by one bad friend, one bad girlfriend, one bad boyfriend. So many people are brought down by their environment. And I guess it makes me happy I don't have negativity in my life. So I try not to. If I get it, we try and make sure it doesn't stay very long.
And here's a question that I didn't tell you I was going to ask you, but if tomorrow was your last day, what would you do?
Yeah, I want to row the Atlantic, so that will take me about 3 months.
We're leading into
if
that.
If tomorrow is my last day, first of all, one thing that I guess probably one of my things I'm most proud of is I have traveled a lot. I've traveled to over 100 countries. I've done some cool things. So as I tell Sophie and my kids, if anything happens to Papa tomorrow, because I go to Nigeria, I go to Mozambique, I go to some dodgy places. If anything happens, it's okay because I've had an awesome life. So I can wake up and say I've had a cool life. But what would I do if anything? I'd probably go out for a nice dinner, nice French dinner.
You've spoken about the Atlantic. I want to get to that and future challenges. Obviously, you've told us that it's one of your goals to row across the Atlantic solo, which is quite a big goal. Is that, for you, the ultimate, or is that a stepping stone?
No, rowing the Atlantic is first of all, it's very iconic. There's 77 people who have successfully soloed the Atlantic. It's also the experience of being by yourself for 3 months. 2 to 3 months, ideally closer to 2. 2 to 3 months. What it's like, I have to prepare. I've always wanted to sail around the world, so you have to know how to read the stars. You have to know the currents. I'll have to learn a lot more than just get in shape, and that's something that I would like to do. Is it the ultimate? I don't know. There's a lot of cool things out there to do.
When will you row across the Atlantic?
Ideally in 2 years. So it all depends on. I have a board. My board won't approve it. So if I get one of our shareholders, we sell his shares and he's not in the board anymore, and then I can convince Sophie. Then I would like to do it in 2 or 3 years, max 3 years.
Incredible. Do you think, before we just go to a few questions, if he said, "What's your purpose in life?" Do you think you're actually put here to do these things and to have these experiences, to inspire people and to prove that, pretty much as you've spoken about for the last half an hour, that really anything's possible if you just commit to doing it?
You know, I had a friend in college that asked me, "What do you want to do?" I had no idea. I just want to have a positive impact on people, you know. And I have a company that we're able to have positive impact on, and ideally the employees are having positive impact on. So do I think I'm putting? No. Although I believe in God and I believe in a purpose, I don't necessarily think I've been put here to do this, but I think everyone has some form of talent, and so many of us are completely wasting it. And if you can gain anything from this talk, is I'm no one special. I do some cool things that are very hard, yes, and I train, I focus for them. It helps. I get in shape. It helps me focus also for my work. But you know, anyone can do it if you want it bad enough and you make it happen.
And a final question from me: do these things, one after the other, gain momentum to keep going and to keep achieving, or will there be a day?
No, definitely.
You just stop?
No, definitely. They definitely keep, because I keep trying to figure out what can I do. I'll be on a long ride. You know, the first part of Ram I rode for 46 hours nonstop. 41 hours on the bike without getting off it. And that's cool. And on that, I was thinking, what am I going to do next? Because I knew I cannot row the Atlantic the following year. So what am I going to do next? So, yes, I try and keep trying to go after something cooler. I think we're going to climb Aconcagua, which is the highest mountain in Chile, in South America. Yeah, you're doing it with me.
Okay.
You know, in December.
You have to ask her.
So it's the highest mountain. I climbed Kilimanjaro, and that was for the adventure. It's the adventure.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go to Q&A, a massive round of applause for Scott. That's some pretty cool stuff. Who has a question? Hanan, of course.
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for this inspirational speak. And please don't use the word average ever again. You're not average. I wanted to ask you about the compromises that you've done in your life, and especially when you say you have a family and friends and work. How do you draw the line between what you want to do, what you want to achieve, without being looked at as selfish, as somebody who's just, you know, stuck in his own world and just wanting to do things for himself? And I'm sure all these hours of training and all these places that you go to, I'm sure it has affected someone somehow. How do you deal with that, and how do you explain it, and how do you reflect on that and make them, people around you, make them feel that they're also benefiting from that? Thank you.
That's a good question, and that's first of all, I wake up very early, so 2:15 in the morning to train, so I can try and fit in work. But when I do that, I'm still not there for when my daughter goes to school. I miss lots of family time. We try and incorporate they come with us on trips. When we do a training in the south of France, they come with us. But it is unfortunately, it is selfish. However, I have a very supportive wife and family, and I think it does have a positive impact on, especially my youngest daughter, because she sees what I'm doing, and it shows her what we can achieve, helps her keep focused. But yeah, unfortunately, I've had this talk even recently. Sophie pointed out, it's great you're here because I want to do something. I want to do a challenge that I'm not going to do, but it would take a lot of training. And she said, "But you're here for breakfast with Giovanna. You're spending more time with us." So it is very difficult to balance. And I try and do it by waking up very early and spending as much time when I'm not training with my family and work.
Thanks. Scott, you did 7 Ironman races in 7 days, and I get about 5 hours into a triathlon, and I want to stop. And I genuinely feel like it's not willpower. I feel like it's physical. I feel like, I just have no energy. I usually start crying about then, as a symptom, like there's nothing left, there's no energy. How do you make that? Like, what do you say to yourself at that moment? Like, what's your best advice to me to be able to convince myself it is mental and keep going? Because I've trained for it. I've trained to go for longer than that. But it's about that point. And I really just, I usually cry for about the last hour.
It is so mental. Okay, because we focus on that pain and we think about that pain, and then suddenly that pain takes over everything. It is so mental. So how do you overcome that? Just realize when you start feeling pain, you start thinking you want to quit. Pride lasts longer than pain. Pride lasts longer than pain. So I broke my wrist before the first ram, and I had a big cast on my arm, and I had a training, and I had a 16-hour ride. And in the middle of the 16-hour ride, my wrist really hurt, and it really hurt. And I'm sure I'm doing something bad on my wrist, and I couldn't even touch the bar anymore. So I called the doctor, and the doctor told me, "Of course it hurts. You have a broken wrist, but it's not gonna hurt you because you have the cast on. So stop thinking about your wrist. It's mental right now." And I stopped thinking about it. The pain went away completely. It was incredible. So it is 99% mental. If you're in shape for it, that the fat guy that didn't finish the swim of the Ironman or whatever he did, that everyone said he did a great job, he wasn't prepared. So he's just, he didn't achieve. If you're prepared for it, it's all mental. So stop thinking about the pain. Think about the pride. Pride lasts longer than pain. That's a good question, because now I'm setting up a challenge with Marcus where I'm calling it my InnerFight challenge, where I will train here for 2 to 3 hours a day because I can't do pull-ups. So I want to learn how to do pull-ups and push-ups, and there's going to be no finish line there. We're going to say 3 months, but there's not going to be a finish line. And that it is going to be mentally tough because I'm not going to have that race to go to make it happen. But it would be very difficult for me to be excited about doing, because I'm going to do an Ironman next year. And even just thinking about training for that, I know I'm going to train to go after a certain time, so that's going to be a focus. But yeah, I think that's going to be something I'm going to have to mentally overcome and get my head back into it and understand that, I do these for the challenge, and how going after and doing something for fun in training. It's because the InnerFight challenge. We have to think about how I'm going to do this challenge with Marcus for 2 to 3 hours. There's not going to be a race. There's not going to be a finish. So it is going to be a mental challenge to stay excited and focused about coming and doing that training every day. So.
Hi. I was going to ask, going to the English Channel swim, how clean is the channel? And what's it like swimming next to one of the big tankers?
Yeah, the English Channel was I think it's the hardest. My hardest challenge was the English Channel. That's the thing that I'm probably the most proud of, and it was just misery. It was so hard. It was just unbelievable. It was when I got out. They were filming me, and I just said that I will never do that again. That was the first thing I said when I got in the boat. But I didn't see any. I didn't get stung by any jellyfish. I didn't see any. It's very polluted. I swallowed lots of water. I vomited. I didn't even see that. You see the tankers, but you don't really see the tankers. So, yeah, it was. It isn't much fun. That's for sure.
Thank you very much, Scott. Is there anybody in your life you would say really inspired you, and what part did your parents play in this? How was it brought up? You had brothers, sisters. What's your family situation?
It's a great question. It'll take me a few minutes to answer this question. I was one of the top swimmers in America when I was an age grouper. Then I changed coaches, and I had an easy coach, and I became a total pussy, where I didn't train hard, I didn't work hard. I had a little bit of talent, so I was still able to achieve, but I no longer was the top swimmer. And then I went to a boarding school for a year on one of the top swim teams in America, and I got uninvited back. I had a bad attitude. I was just a loser. I was a total loser, and I got kicked out. And I called the number one school in America, and I pitched the swim coach to let me join the team. I said, I'm a loser, but I don't want to be a loser anymore. So he took me on, and he's tough. He's the head coach of, his name's Greg Troy. He's the current head coach of America's men's swimming team. And he, for the 3 years that I swam with him, he was really tough on me. He gave me a lot of tough love, and he helped me get over being a total pussy and a total loser. And so often we have a boss or we have a coach, and we think to ourselves, why is he so hard on me? Why is my boss? Why is he expecting me to work hard? Why is Coach Troy was so hard on me? And I look back now, I see clearly he saw that I could have been very good, and I was just okay because I wasn't putting in everything that was necessary to become great. And so Coach Troy had a huge impact on my life. So that I wouldn't be sitting here today if I hadn't met Coach Troy. He changed my life for sure. He just wouldn't let me. One of the examples, my first day, I show up to the boarding school. I arrive at 9:15 at night, so I'm not going to go to practice in the morning. It's late. 5:15 in the morning, he's knocking at my door saying, "We're waiting for you. Where are you? Why aren't you at practice?" I couldn't miss practice. So then I got into it, and then he taught me how to love working hard. He taught me how to love the pain. He taught me that pride lasts longer than pain. Just by we trained harder than everyone else. We were the number one high school team in America. So all of the hard things that we did really set the tone for who we were as a team, and the team was very close. So lots of the things related to swimming transferred into life. You know, you wake up early, you work hard, you can't stop in the middle of it, even if you want to. You just have to keep plugging away. So it's difficult to describe, but my coach and his toughness and not letting me quit and being hard on me. There was one time I had a set where I got second to a swimmer who got a silver medal in the Olympics, and I was all excited. So I got out of the pool. It was a really tough set, and I was walking with a big smile on my face, and the coach came running over to me and say, "You didn't even try to win." And I was thinking, why is he upset? I just got second to one of the top swimmers in the world. He didn't even, and I realize now he was upset because I wasn't living up to my talent. I wasn't pushing. I wasn't making it happen like I should have made it happen. So it's stuff like that where he have an impact on me.
Good morning, Scott. Could you elaborate a little bit about the relationship between your sporting life and your business life, and how one has affected the other?
That's a very, very good question. I miss a lot of. I have a board that and I have 280 staff that rely on me, and I have my clients, my shareholders, and yes, I probably missed too much work last year on these trainings, and it surely negatively impacted the business. I'm not missing any work now, and our business is considerably better. So unfortunately, all the time out of the office has negatively impacted work. I think there's a middle ground, because when I trained for the 7 Ironman in 7 days and the English Channel, I was able to mitigate the negative consequences to the company because I was in the office more. So certain challenges, yes, take up probably too much time. But I do it, again, to ideally inspire and show the team what's possible when we make it happen. You know.
Thanks very much, Scott. Unfortunately, it's a fact of life that none of us are getting younger, and we are all aging. It's just one of those things. How do you go about getting it around your head that, you know, one day you're not going to be able to do the challenges that you could do when you were younger, and how are you conditioning yourself mentally and physically to get to that stage?
It's funny, a couple of days ago I said, as I was shaving, I said to Sophie, I said, we're getting old. And she said, that's the first time I've ever heard you say that. And I'm going to turn 45. And I woke up there, they're going, gosh, I'm getting old. I shouldn't be doing stuff like that. But I don't think about it. I don't feel old at all. I might look old or whatever, but I don't think about it at all. I just focus on making it happen today, and we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Scott, I want to really appreciate you for what you've done for us today and for sharing your story. I want to guarantee you that I'm going to teach you how to jump on a box properly so that you don't end up with 15 stitches in your leg. But just to finish off, mate, you've spoken about some really amazing things. If you could just leave the people with one thought about this whole making it happen and sort of achieving great things in life, how would you wrap it up?
For sure, make sure you don't let the losers in the world bring you down. Okay? And that's something I tell the staff, I tell my employees, I tell my girls, my friends, my family. There's so many losers out there that are going to be threatened by you getting in shape, that are going to be threatened by you going to the gym, that are going to be threatened by you doing a half Ironman. What you're doing, you must have a lot of haters, that's for sure. You know, but don't let them don't let anything get in the way of where you want to go. You know, I have a friend of mine that lost. He wanted to get in shape. He wanted to lose weight. He lost a lot of weight. Okay, and he wasn't thin. He still was fat. And his wife kept saying, "Oh, you're too thin. You're too thin," because she's fat. You're too thin. He looks too thin. His body, he shouldn't be. He's losing too much weight, and he's losing too much weight. And she didn't want him to succeed. And guess what? He stopped his diet, and he's probably fatter than ever. And she didn't want him to succeed because he's a threat. And so make sure you don't let any of the losers out there bring you down or get in the way of where you want to go. I know that comes across very negative, but it's not. Trust me, I think I'm being positive. There's so many losers, God, and unfortunately, we have to deal with losers all the time. You know, they don't want to achieve. It's too hard. You know, people say it's because I have money. You know, there's people out there in the UK that said I paid someone to swim the English Channel. There's a group of people out there saying I pay people to do these challenges for me, and it's because Scott has money. Scott can do this. So, yeah, it's one of them. Sure, it's it's the don't let the losers bring you down. All right, and that's if there's anything taken from this, and I liked how the marketing team at NASA, but they chose that yesterday for the promotion of this. Don't let the losers bring you down, because really, there's so many losers out there that don't want you to succeed, that don't want you to do the Ironman, that don't want you to lose weight, that don't want you to learn that language. So don't listen to anything. Go out and make it happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Ragsdale, thank you very much.